Many people are using GitHub as a schema registry to store JSON, AVRO, Protobuf schemas, because it kind of makes sense, right? Let's take a look at this schema registry, for example. Here is a demo one. Here we have a GitHub repo and it has some domains in it. If I click on these, you can see down here that we have Protobuf, JSON, AVRO, all sorts of different things. Now, this is a popular pattern for people building event-driven architectures, as they like to have their schemas versioned. They like to make pull requests and change things and have discussions and all that kind of stuff, okay? Which makes perfect sense. Now, what I'm going to show you in this demo, in this video here, is actually how to turn your schemas from GitHub into a fully documented event catalog. This is the event catalog from the schema registry that I just pulled in. As you can see here, I have domains, I have the schemas, the commands, the events. I can copy them. I can copy the schema to clipboard, download them. I can see the relationship between the servers, the producers and consumers, and the schemas. And I can also go down here and see any kind of schema that you want to document and visualize in Event Catalog. In this video, I'm going to show you how to get started, how to set it all up, and how to get your own Event Catalog running with your own schemas. So let's get started. Cool, so I have a brand new event catalog that I've just installed on my machine. You can find how to do that on eventcatalog.dev, but out of the box, you'll get something that looks like this. So the first thing we're gonna do is actually install the package called the generator GitHub. Now I've already installed that, but what you would do is npm install this package here. Now this is the plugin that will allow us to pull the schemas from GitHub and pull them into our repository. The next thing we want to do is actually go over to our event catalog config file. This is where the magic happens on event catalog. You can configure certain settings, certain features into your event catalog. What we're interested in here in particular is this one here, this generator for GitHub. Okay. So all I've done here is I'm saying, okay, I want to use this plugin, this generator from GitHub. And what I'm going to do is first of all, give it the source. Now this can be the SSH URL or the HTTP URL of your GitHub repo. Now you can see here, this is public, so you can follow this example along if you want to. I have this flowmart schema registry, and then I have the path to domains. Now, if you have like a root or a folder of your schemas, you can put the path here as an example, or if not, you can just leave this blank or give it the root path there. So I have domains, I have the branch of domain. By default, it's main, but you can have any branch that you want. Now in this example, I'm going to show you two examples. In this example, what we're going to do is just take messages and schemas and map them to event catalog. Now what that will allow us to do is actually start to document our services, our domains separately, but keep our schemas in sync with our messages. So what I'm doing here is I'm saying, okay, here is this message. I'm going to call it out of stock. I'm going to map it to the out of stock message. I'm going to name it out of stock, give it a version, and then I'm going to point to the schema repo. Okay, so just to clarify this, so I have the schema, I have domains, and then I have inventory and schemas, and I have a bunch of things in here. And that is all we are doing when we come to this file. I have type of event. This can also be query or it can be command. Okay, but we'll leave that as event for now. And all I'm saying here is I'm going to grab a bunch of schemas from somewhere in GitHub and I'm going to just sync them with Event Catalog. Every time you run the generate or the build command, it will pull your schemas and keep them in sync. Now, why this is cool is because it allows you to add meaning and documentation to your schemas while keeping them in sync with things on GitHub. And that's it. That's all I have. I have these things here. So next thing I'm going to do is run npm run generate. What this will do is actually generate our events for us. And you can see here, what it's done now is processing the messages. It does not exist. I'm creating you the message. Here is the message and the schema. Fantastic. Now to verify this has worked, I can now see folders called commands and events, and then I can see that these are generated for us. Here is the event and here is the schema for that thing. So it's kept it, downloaded it into Event Catalog. What I can do now is run npm run dev, and what this will do is spawn Event Catalog on my machine. This will start hosting it. I can go back now and run localhost 3000 where it's on. And as you can see here, we have Event Catalog. Now, not much is going on in here. I have 7 messages, but if I go to the documentation, we can actually start to see some things happening. I can come in here, I can see the order created, and these are all from GitHub. I can come in here, I can copy the schema, I can download the schema, view its architecture diagram, which not a lot's going on at the moment. And then I can also see the schema here. Fantastic. Now, why would you want to do this? Because it allows you to keep your schemas in sync with your documentation. So say if I went back to cursor, and now what I can do here is actually say, okay, I have my events, here are the ones that are generated. Now what Event Catalog allows you to do this will be persisted, okay, between imports. So as you can see, that's updated. This is the order cancelled event. If I go down here, I will see the change. This will be persisted, okay? And we can do whatever we want. We can add whatever markdown that we want. So in your example, you might want to add examples, code examples, business meaning, domain meaning, anything that you want inside this markdown file, okay? Now the key thing here is that between imports is that the markdown is persisted. An example of that, if I was to delete the schema, or the schema was to change on the remote repository, okay, I'm going to run the generate command again. But this time, the generate command will know that we already have the events there, already exist, so I'm just updating the schema, okay? What this allows you to do is allows you to persist the markdown, the documentation, and your catalog whilst keeping your schemas up to date. Okay, so in your case, in your use case, you can pull your schemas into your catalog from GitHub, from AVRO, you know, AVRO schemas, JSON schemas, Protobuf schemas, add the documentation, attach these events to producers and consumers and domains and owners and all sorts of things. All of that is persisted, that logic is persisted in EventCatalog, but your schemas are kept in sync. Okay, so that's one way you can use this plugin, a very, I call it the basic way. But what you can do is just take events and map them, or schemas and map them to messages in EventCatalog. Now there's another way and you can do this, and that is actually mapping your schemas to producers and consumers and domains. So in the next example, let's have a look at how we do that with the GitHub plugin. Cool, so I have a brand new catalog again, but this time things are slightly different. We've installed the generator again, and we've configured it again, but the configuration file is different. This time we have the generators, but I'm using it slightly differently. So we have the source, which is our Flowmart schema registry. That is open source. You can go have a look at this yourself as an example. We have the path, which we discussed before, but this time I'm actually defining services, or I'm kind of mapping producers and consumers to schemas. Okay. So what I'm saying here is I want an orders service, right? This thing is but it's meant to process orders as an example, and it receives and it sends some kind of events and commands and queries. All I'm saying here is that it sends a event called order cancelled, but the schema to this is here in the orders schemas order cancelled folder. Now let me just show you again on here. If I go back, we can see domains, order schemas, and we can see the schemas in there. All we're telling EventCatalog here is, hey, the schema for this particular message belongs over here. Please go get it before you hydrate my catalog. The same for here. We have the order created, the order shipped, and the place, you know, and it receives two commands, place an order and update an order. Okay, and the schemas are here too. Down here we have another service, the inventory service. We do the same kind of thing. It sends a bunch of things and it receives a bunch of things. Then we have a payment service that does the same kind of thing. Now this is optional. What we've decided to do here in this example is wrap it in a domain, the e-commerce domain. So the domain has many services, and services have many messages that come in and out of that particular service. So what is this? This is 140 lines of code. Most of that is the top. So, you know, we can see what's going on here. So what I'm going to do now is open up the terminal, and we are going to run npm run generate again. This time slightly different. It's going to create us a domain folder. It's going to create the services, and it's going to create the mappings for us. Okay, so you can see here everything that's happened, which is fantastic. Let's have a look and see what's happened. We've got a domain, so the e-commerce domain, this is generated for us, and then we have a bunch of things that's happening. But the best way to show you is actually to run the catalog that we've just created, and let's have a look what this looks like for us. Remember, in 120 lines of code, we can actually start creating a catalog. So let's go back to the UI, and let's have a look here at localhost. Now, what you can see here is slightly different. We have a domain, services, and messages. If I go to the docs, we have the domain up here, which is our domain. We can open it in the visualizer. Everything that you see here is documented and automated for you at this point. We have a domain architecture. We can see that this particular service is receiving these commands and it's kind of sending out these events. We can go down, we can actually see the messages, all the messages in this domain. We can click on these and dive deeper, okay? And all the messages this domain receives, you know, part of the services. We can click on the services and we can dive deeper, explore other services. We can click on that and we get shown this kind of view. But we can also explore the service in the visualizer, and we can see these messages that have been simulated, the command coming in here, and it's publishing some events over there. If I go down, we have this architecture diagram, which is fine. And then we go to the event. On the event, again, as usual, we have the schema. I can copy this schema to clipboard. I can download it. If I click on download, we can see that, which is pretty cool. And that kind of stuff. And we can come down here and see that. So on the left, we have this fully documented system, all just from schemas from EventCatalog. We can go in here and home, we can actually look at our architecture diagrams. I can see this e-commerce domain, I can click on here. I can see it has the subdomains, I can click on these and go deeper. I can see that those messages are coming in and out as I dive deeper. I can click on this and have a look. So all these things are in sync. All these EventCatalog, these GitHub schemas are in sync with your event catalog. What you can come and do now in this example is come back to your editor and you can start editing these files, right? You can start adding whatever you want to your files, to your domains, to your services, to your events, and all of that is persisted and your schemas are just kept in sync with your catalog. Okay, so if you're interested in any of this, I recommend heading over to eventcatalog.dev, which you can find here. And if you get at the top here, click on integrations and click on this GitHub link there. It will take you through everything I spoke about, the guides, tutorials, and examples on GitHub that you can see and start using yourself. If you have any questions at all, feel free, click on this link up here on Discord, come join our Discord channel, ask away, and I hope this new integration helps you build your event catalogs with GitHub.